Well, hello and welcome back to Read Becca for a tag video today. I have been very behind on tags, but this is a new tag by Aaron Read a Book, and so I wanted to jump in on the bandwagon and do this tag very quickly. So I'm diving right in with my assistant Rue today, and this is the chess tag. I have played chess, I know how it works generally, but you don't need to know how chess works in order to do this tag. The prompts are very straightforward. So let's dive into the prompts. Prompt number 1 is Pawn, a book about a lowly character that rises through the ranks. This is a very easy selection for me because it's one of my favorite Discworld books. This is Going Postal by Terry Pratchett. This is the first of the Moist von Lipwig series. And this is such a great example of this kind of trope because Moist is at the very bottom. He's a con man who has done everything wrong in his life and caught for it and is facing a death sentence. However, Lord Vetinari, in his wisdom, pulls Moist out and, kind of to a literal interpretation of this prompt, may use him as a pawn because he throws him into something that is utterly failing, the Ankh-Morpork postal service. So if Moist fails, he's not really going to make anything worse, but if he succeeds at improving the postal service, then Vetinari can only gain from it, right? So over the course of this series, Moist, of course, does indeed gain status and improve things, become an upstanding member of his community, even. And so I think that is the journey from the bottom to the top. So we see him through the, I think, 3 books of this series, really improve public works in Ankh-Morpork. Prompt number 2 is Rook, a book that features a castle, a tower, or a chariot. This was a tough one because I wanted to find a chariot, and I feel like I must have read something that has a chariot, and I couldn't think of any. So I went with a tower, and that tower is the Tower of Babel in Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. This is a series that I absolutely love. I've read all 4 books and loved all 4 books. In this first book, we are following Senlin and his wife Marya as they are going on their honeymoon. He's a lowly school teacher who has always dreamed of the Tower of Babel. It's very well known where they are. This feels a little historical and kind of steampunky a bit, but it's certainly a big fantasy world. So he and his wife are off to this place that he has studied, and he feels like he knows and he's prepared. He has really learned the guidebook. As soon as they get there, they are separated and cannot find each other again. And he discovers that he really didn't know anything. Everything he learned was not really true to the experience. And this tower is truly massive and epic in scale. Each level of the tower is its own ringdom. So the rings of the tower, the layers, are completely their own world, their own community and society. They have their own quirks and behaviors. It's a really massive world-building effort, what this tower is imparted to the reader. And slowly over the course of the 4 books, we explore different rings of the towers. And they're totally wildly different worlds. So I love this for a true strange world that is this tower. Next is Knight, a book about an animal or animals, bonus points if it is a horse. So I harp on this one a lot, but nobody reads it, so I'm going to harp on it again, and that is The Strange Bird by Jeff Vandermeer. This is a tiny novella set in the Bourne world. Bourne is a full-length novel in a very new, weirdy, sci-fi, a little bit fantastical strangeness, surreal. So as you can see, there is a bird, and it is a strange bird. And this happens concurrently with Bourne. You can read it on your own, but I think being introduced to the characters through Bourne is probably preferable. However, this is just such a complete and wonderful story, and we are following the strange bird as this main character. And there is some really difficult content, so this is probably a terrible, terrible idea for me to recommend for animal lovers, perhaps, or as an animal recommendation, because it does contain some body horror and animal cruelty, perhaps. But this is such a moving and heartfelt story overall. It made me cry, definitely. So this is one I always want more people to be picking up because it is just a perfect slice of short fiction for me. Then we have Bishop, a book that features religious characters or members of a church. Bonus points for a bishop. So I didn't get a bishop, but this is Byzantium by Stephen R. Lougheed. And this is a historical fiction, big chunky tome about a monk from pre-Ireland, Ireland, who is going off with his fellow monks on a journey to take the Book of Kells to the Byzantium Empire. And things do not go well immediately. So pretty much as soon as they set off, things are going wrong. They're beset by Vikings. And he does wind up with the Vikings as their slave for quite some time. And so that's a big piece of the story. But this is a big sweeping epic journey. Does eventually get to this world of Byzantium that is beyond anything he could have imagined. And so it has this wonderful epic journey for this monk of him becoming something different than he started out as, and him experiencing these things he could have never dreamed. So yeah, this is a really great historical fiction. Next, we have Queen, a book with a strong female character. And I want to go with one that has two strong female characters, and that is Briefly a Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. So this is a historical with a fantastical element of ghost being one of the prominent characters. And that ghost is a 14-year-old girl who died giving birth in a monastery in Majorca. And she is such a great complex character because even though she's 14, she's been dead for a couple hundred years. So she's had a lot of experiences and seen the very limited part of the world where she died a lot for a long period of time. And so much of this book has to do with female desire and feminine yearning. And I think that is expressed both through the ghost character and what she's observing in the story, which is really a couple hundred years after her death. George Sand, the author and feminist, I guess, of her time, going to visit and stay at this monastery with her lover, Frederick Chopin, the composer, and her two children. And George Sand is also a person who didn't really fit in and was imposed a lot of negativity by society at the time. She wore pants, she doesn't really fit norms, she's very independent. She made her own way as an author, and she didn't really adhere to norms within her marriage even. So she's very much an outcast. And both of these women are so complicated and not perfect, not physically strong, but they are such genuinely strong, developed characters. So I really loved both of them. Finally, we have King, a book about a monarch or a ruler, and I'm going to go with a queen for this one rather than a king, and specifically Queen Elizabeth. And in the Her Royal Majesty Investigates series beginning with The Windsor Knot by S.J. Bennett. This is a really fun mystery series, contemporary, and it follows the queen as she sort of pulls the strings on a murder mystery investigation after someone dies in the castle. And over the course of this series, it's very much her and her using her very intelligent, whip-smart personal assistant to act as her sort of eyes and feet for this investigation, because she obviously can't sneak around doing these things. So she's got to order people around, and appropriate to this tag, she's moving the pieces into place. But the queen is just such a delight, because in this first book, I think specifically, part of the gag of the book is that there's something sexual about the death, and she's unflapped by it. Everyone is tiptoeing around saying anything in front of her, and she's just like, I'm 80 years old, I've been around, I know what you're talking about. And so she's very unflappable across this. And she's also just very, very smart, and everyone kind of underestimates her through the course of this. So I really have enjoyed the first two books. The third one has just come out in the US, and so I've had a hold on it for quite a while, waiting for my Read What You Own to finish up. So I'm delighted to be getting to the third book as soon as I can, which should be very shortly. So I think that's it for the tag. I will tag Farah from Bookstalgic, Book Chat with Pat, Towering TBR, Lunacha Reads, and The Poor Person's Book Reviewer for this tag. So I think that is all for me today. Thank you so very much for watching.